No minion, no minion, no minion. Well played.
You are a magnificent opponent.
Oh, that was a fun, well, hard fought game of Hearthstone. My opponent got horribly outplayed, and I win. GG. Can I get some claps in chat? Well played. I don't know why you didn't play around it. That was just stupid.
Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. And before we get into today's topic, I just want to give a quick shout out again. We have a giveaway going on for a golden bundle, rank 2 bundle, or at least an equivalent. I don't know how, if I can even gift it, but I'm going to gift like $100 worth of packs regardless to a winner of this video. So go check it out. It's linked in the description below. You just have to comment, like, subscribe to the channel, all that shenanigans. We've been doing this for a while, but I want to give back because you guys have been incredible to me. But today we are going to talk about a card that is actually kind of killing Hearthstone, or at least destroying multiple formats in a way that I think is incredibly unhealthy for the game. Win rate wise to an extent, but gameplay wise, absolutely. And that card is Switcheroo. Switcheroo, new pre-spell, and yes, we just talked about the other day how Priest is terrible. It's not so terrible all of a sudden, especially even in standard and wild. We'll talk about it. But Switcheroo, this card, it draws 2 minions. It swaps their stats, and it seems harmless enough right out the gate. You know, I'll draw 2 minions, swap their stats. Maybe, you know, you'll get some benefit to it. But when you're playing a Hearthstone deck and you can run 28 spells and just run a couple minions and just hope to not draw them, you can kind of just high roll shenanigans, and it happens more often than not. And right now, especially in Wild, this is absolutely out of control. You have the combo where you play Stone Tusk Boar in the darkness, and it's not just a meme. It's a legitimate deck. Looking at HS replay stats, although they're limited, sample size is small, you take a look, these are all these decks are doing is Darkness Boar. And despite the fact that you might miss, you might low roll and hit Boar or hit Darkness before you play your Switcheroo, all these decks are plus 50% win rate. So basically, you could play these decks, you can charge for well over 40 damage. If you're not aware of how it worked, I had a little clip at the beginning, but if you're not aware of how it works, you play Switcheroo, which is 3 mana, it draws the Darkness, it draws Boar. The Boar is a 1 mana 20/20 charge, which you can then copy with a Vivid Nightmare for 40 damage, or you can illuminate out the card or whatever, get one of these parts out earlier and even do it on turn 3. And worst comes to worst, let's say I have drawn one of my pieces. You can still actually cheese wins by stealing an opponent's minion, and if you're running Divine Spirit in your list, copying that, Vivid Nightmaring that, and killing your opponent with like a topsy-turvy. The deck is consistent enough to be winning consistently, which is making it very prominent on the ladder. And I will address the elephant in the room, which is Kael'thas Druid, which is even more problematic in Wild in my opinion, because it isn't as inconsistent. It's not as fast. It kills you on turns 3 through 5 on average, whereas the other one kills you on turns 3 and 4 on average. But yeah, well, I'm gonna have a video later today basically pleading with Blizzard to nerf it by highlighting gameplay of me playing it very grumpily. But yeah, we'll check that out later today. I'm not forgetting about Kael'thas. I'm on Twitter every single day asking for nerfs. You can just take a look at my timeline. I've been quote tweeting and doing everything I can in my power. I quote tweeted Mark, who is ready for it. Day 9 of asking for Kael'thas to please be nerfed again. I'm not adding devs or like, you know, trying to grief them or anything, but I'm putting it out there. I quote tweeted Corbett as well. We highlighted that on a video recently, day 8. And yeah, every day I've been kind of highlighting it, and I think I'll be quote tweeting my own video coming for this one. But Wild really needs help. We've had 0 communication outside of 1 comment. Matt London, who's kind of the new Wild guy, kind of unofficially basically in charge of game modes and Wild's kind of his thing, was quote tweeted about OTKs, unhealthy OTKs. Basically, these are unhealthy OTKs we're talking about, saying really interesting thread given the nature of the Wild format. And Matt responded, makes you wonder about the near future, doesn't it? So I'm hoping that this is alluding to nerfs coming to Wild, changing changes coming to Wild, that there's hope for Wild. But again, we haven't had direct comments. We haven't had, we're going to fix this. We see this as a problem, in particular with Kael'thas, which was specifically unnerfed for Wild, which just still boggles my mind how you can come to the decision that we're rotating this card to Wild, we should unnerf it, knowing, well, all these cards exist. Like, I can't get around that. But the other part with switcheroo I want to talk about is standard. It's standard. It's actually problematic in standard. Just the other day on a video, I'll try and screen cap it, I showed the priest win rate at like 36% or something like that. You look at HS replay now, it's no longer even last in standard. It's gone all the way up to 43%. How has this happened? Basically what's happening is it's a conjunction with a deck called Silence Priest, which runs switcheroo and has synergies with like Shellfish, and you're milling your opponent to death. Pretty unhealthy. But the other one, the one that's really problematic to people, is the switcheroo deck that only runs Twin Fin Twin, as well as Deathwing the Destroyer, which I have built here, where you play switcheroo, and as long as you haven't drawn these other two minions, you get two 12/12s. Because it becomes a copy of this, your opponent can't answer it, you win the game. This is the absolute worst style of high roll deck you could possibly have in the game, and it exists in both formats. And to me, it's just problematic of switcheroo being a problematic card. It's almost mass mana cheat in the way where you build your deck this way. And I feel like the card kind of needs an emergency fix. I really do. I think it creates horrible gameplay experiences. It is making Priest viable, but like at what cost? You know what I mean? Like, it's really unhealthy. And if you could reword it that maybe they swap the mana cost too, so your Twin Fin would be a 12 a mana, 12/12, so it's a giant minion, but it keeps the stats. Or maybe you draw two minions that cost 5 or more, but that could be a whole problematic thing. I'm just really worried about the state of the game when switcheroo is this dominant in both standard and wild for just unhealthy reasons. If it was just a powerful card leading you to powerful things, fine, whatever. Like you take a look at this Silence Priest that copies Shellfishes and, you know, it's swapping stats with the Handmaidens. It's pretty gross, but whatever. That's Hearthstone. But, you know, it is what it is. You can have it switch with Nether Drake, all sorts of stuff. It's not one specific high roll, whereas the other deck is literally, oh, I drew my Murloc, I give up. What kind of gameplay is that? It's a horrible experience, and it's the same with the wild deck where I drew my Boar, I drew my Darkness, I might as well concede. I feel like that style of deck should not exist, whereas this style of deck I feel like is probably okay, but again, can be problematic in its own way. So I'd love to hear what your guys' take. I've seen a lot of complaints about switcheroo, in particular in wild, where I do feel it's way more problematic, and I hope it gets addressed in wild. Maybe you just ban the card. I don't know. There's plenty of ways you can address it, and I hope Blizzard does do something about it, as well as Kael'thas. And probably pretty soon I'll talk about cards that maybe should be balanced in standard and wild separately from all of this. But I feel like this is a whole different issue, a whole weird issue that needs to be dialed in, and hopefully Blizzard does that sooner than later. So let me know what you guys think. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.